You want some water?
Yeah, bring me one. Well, committee needs to be like that sometimes.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Committee to order for February 28th, 2023, the last day of February. I'm not sad to see it go. Uh, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Representatives Barrett, Boyd, Campbell, Camper, Cochran, Crawford, Faison, Freeman, Gant, Garrett, Hawk, Hicks, Kiesling, Lamberth, Love, Lynn, McKenzie, Miller, Moon, Parkinson, Shaw, Sparks, Whitson, Williams, Zachary, Vice Chairman Baum, Chair Lady Hazelwood. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If we could have down in front, please. We have budget hearings scheduled today, as well as 9 bills that we're going to take up on our calendar. We will take the bills up first, and we'll then go directly from there to our hearings. The first item on our calendar is House Bill 48 by Leader Lamberth. Leader Lamberth, you're recognized. You have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And there should be an amendment on this bill that I believe is coded 4259 that is same as the Senate's amendment.
Motion. Second on the amendment.
We have a motion and a second on Amendment 004259. Leader Lamberth, would you like to describe the amendment, or do you want to put it on the bill and then describe the bill as amended?
Madam Chairman, I'm cool with whichever way you guys would like to proceed. If we put it on there, it will make the bill, and I can describe the whole thing if you'd like.
All right, well, let's go.
Question on the amendment.
We have a question on the amendment. Without objection, we are voting on amendment 004259. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any noes? The ayes have it. If you'd like to be recorded as a no, then please see the clerk. We are now on House Bill 48 as amended. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And as amended, what this bill does is it sets a maximum city council or metro council size at 20, gives any metro or city council that would need to reorganize due to this maximum size under state law. It gives them pretty broad powers to amend their charter, do whatever is necessary to effectuate this. And it would go into effect this year for this election. If for any reason, any entity out there is unable to accomplish redistricting or whatever else is necessary in time for their filing deadline for this year, then it would extend terms by 1 year. My hope would be is that would not occur.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Are there questions? And I do have Representative Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the explanation, sponsor. I know this has kind of worked its way through a bunch of committees. This is the first time I've had a chance to ask questions about my city council. I've got, I don't know, 4 or 5. I guess if you'll give me some leeway to ask a few, I would appreciate it. To the sponsor, why did you select 20 when counties are capped at 25?
Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would have preferred 15. I mean, when you look throughout the country, city and metro councils, very few of them are actually above 15. There's only 2 that are above 40, which I believe your city council, that's where it falls. And that's New York and Chicago. So again, the preference would be to go below 15, a maximum of 20, which means none of these cities or metros have to go to 20, but it allows them to go all the way up to 20 if they'd like. Quite frankly, I am fully in favor of a constitutional amendment that would reduce our county commissions down to 20 as well. They're capped at 25 currently, but that's a separate issue because that's in the Constitution. Statutorily, obviously, you know, the metros and cities are created by the legislature and particularly the metros. And so we have the statutory ability to be able to change this and set maximum size now. The counties would have to be through a constitutional amendment.
Representative Freeman.
I just like to note that that drop to 20 is being deliberated by a body of 27 right now in this committee. In the subcommittee, it was stated that this legislation applies to all cities. Can you tell me which city, aside from Nashville, this would affect?
Yes, sir.
Leader
Every
Lambert.
single city and metro.
In Metro?
Leader Lambert.
Yes, it affects every single city and metro. It sets a maximum size of 20. No city can go beyond that point.
Do you think that this bill supersedes the will of the people of Metro Nashville? In 2015, this was on the ballot, and full disclosure, I voted in favor of decreasing the size of the council. But the people of Nashville voted to keep it the same. Do you believe this supersedes the will of the people of Nashville?
Leader Lambert.
No, I do not. That ballot initiative actually included term limits and extending from 2 to 3 the term limits. And when you get a mixed question like that in some sort of a ballot measure, it's almost impossible to tell how folks voted and why they voted one way or the other. So unfortunately, that was a mixed ballot measure that truly doesn't show what the will of the people is.
And I've got 2 more questions. I'm sorry.
Representative
if you
Freeman.
Give me just a little bit of leeway. And then, you know, we talked a little bit about why you selected 20. You felt that it should be 15. My real question is, why do we need this legislation? Nashville has seen monumental growth within the confines of having a 40-person council. We have participated in producing the bulk of the finances for our state. We are a draw for the region. Businesses are chomping at the bit to move here. We're hosting large events. We are getting the lion's share of the best and brightest from around the country that are choosing to move to Nashville. Why do we think we need to mess with the size of our Metro Council now?
Leader Lambert.
Again, for every city and metro in the state, especially those in West Tennessee where we expect to see rapid growth, when you look at other cities throughout the country, and I'll since you brought up Nashville, I'll pick cities that are relatively similar in size. Austin, Texas is just over 1 million people. They have 10 city council members. It's hard to argue that Austin isn't growing and flourishing and doing very well. There's things I'm sure we would all disagree with what might be happening in some of these cities that I'll list, but they have robust city councils that all work well together and well with their states. San Jose, California, it's just over 1 million. It has 10 city council members. San Antonio, Texas, 1.4 million, 10 city council members. Memphis, right here in the state of Tennessee, has 13 city council members. Interestingly, Las Vegas, Nevada has, just under 700,000 people with 7 city council members. It's just a simple group dynamics issue, is that a body of 40, 50, 60 people is not able to coalesce around ideas and to be efficient like a body that is 15 or 20 is able to do.
Representative Freedom, do you have a final
The
question?
last question. I find that very interesting, again, that you have an issue with a body of 40 when you're a body of 99, saying how it can't operate appropriately. I disagree. I think that the city of Nashville has proven that they can operate and are doing things extremely well outside of what I think is the real reason to this, which is declining to have the RNC here. I think they've made many decisions that has moved Nashville forward in a very positive manner. I would encourage all my members to vote against this. Thank you.
Leader Lambert.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments and respect you, sir, but you couldn't be further from the truth. This has nothing to do with one convention, one decision. This has been happening for years, the discussion on this, on how large should city councils and metro councils be allowed to grow under state law. That's what this bill deals with, and that's all it deals with.
Are there other questions? Representative Love, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just checking, did we put an amendment on this bill? Is the Senate, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Okay.
we did adopt the amendment.
is it the House amendment or the Senate amendment?
Leader Lambert.
It is the same amendment that is traveling to the Senate. It is now, now that it's been adopted in this committee, the House amendment.
Representative Love.
Thank you. Could we get a brief explanation of what the Senate amendment changes to the bill?
Leader Lambert.
Yes, I'll be happy to describe that again. I did just a while ago, but I will be happy to do so, sir. Now, what this does primarily is that for any city that would need to reorganize and come down under the maximum limit of 20, then that would affect the elections for this year. And it gives broad power to whatever city that might have to do that to effectuate that change. And if for whatever reason, due to some frivolous lawsuit or just quite frankly dragging their feet and choosing not to do so, which I would hope would not happen, it would kick out those terms 1 year, which I think in almost everyone's public comments that I've seen on this, everyone hopes to avoid. And so, but it does provide for the election to go forward this year as planned, as it would have occurred otherwise. But it does put some parameters on there where there is an extension of a year if for some reason it doesn't occur.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 48 as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. The ayes have it. If you'd like to be recorded as a no, please see the clerk.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee.
House Bill 48 moves on to calendar and rules. Next on our agenda, item 2 is House Bill 30 by Chairman Doggett. Chairman Doggett, you're recognized. We have a motion and a second.
Good afternoon, Lady Chair and committee. There is an amendment with this bill here. Amendment code 4130.
And does the amendment make the bill, sir?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
All right. Committee members, we have an amendment 004130. It does make the bill, so let's vote on the amendment, get the amendment in proper, the bill in proper order, and then we'll have discussions. So do I hear a motion on the amendment? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Let your no be recorded if you like with the clerk. We are now on the bill as amended. Chairman Doggett, if you would explain your bill, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. House Bill 30 as amended requires a person in jurisdictions with an adult-oriented establishment board to obtain a valid entertainer's permit from the board prior to performing adult cabaret entertainment for compensation. It prohibits the public, private, and commercial establishments from allowing a person younger than 18 to attend a performance featuring adult cabaret entertainment.
You've heard the explanation. We did have someone who had reached out to our office, wanted to testify. Simpson will ask her to come forward. We will go out of session for that testimony. Please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
All right, can everyone hear me? All right. Good afternoon. My name is Kira Simpson. I am a graduate student in the Fisk Vanderbilt Bridge program studying biophysics and a previous research scientist and technologist for the NASA SWIFT mission. I'm here to testify against HB 30, which attempts to classify drag performances as solely adult performances and criminalizes anyone deemed to be in drag, in quotes, in drag, outside of strict 18+ spaces. If passed, this bill will give further license for discretionary policing of people who are deemed to be in public near where a child, in quotes, could be, but it is left vague as to who and where this bill covers. It also proposes to establish a digital registry of any drag performance in order to be allowed to practice drag at all, and makes it necessary to pay to practice drag, whether that be licensing and registration fees or the cost of incarceration, such as bail. At several points in history, we have seen the harm that this kind of surveillance can cause for people who are trying to live their lives. Measures where a registry is employed will come down to individual cops deciding who is and is not in drag, and we do not invite police into our spaces for good reason. It is also insulting that we must pay a fee to the state to participate in an art form that springs from community spaces and should be as open as possible for people to participate in. It also makes the possibility of making a living off of being an artist more difficult than necessary, as any increase in cost means less money for meals or rent. Places that will no longer be allowed to have both liquor licenses and allow drag performances will be less able to pay drag performers for putting on shows. It should not be the business of the state to surveil and police its citizens. Policing invites further harm into our communities, and we deserve the freedom to self-actualize in the ways that we see fit without the involvements of cops or prisons. Part of that self-actualization for many of us is exploring the possibilities of gender presentation, whether that is through drag or through transness. Even Governor Bill Lee has dipped his toe into that exploration in his personal history, as the viral photo of him in drag for a high school event shows. Encouraging policing of gender presentation by codifying it into law will bring down greater harm and make it more difficult for us to protect ourselves from anti-trans and anti-drag violence. As I mentioned, I'm a grad student. I'm tired and in a lab studying the biology of wound healing in order to better understand it. I'm a scientist aspiring to do research that improves the material conditions of people around me, and every piece of anti-drag and anti-trans legislation pulls me away from my work in order to protect my community. Do not make our obligations to protect each other more difficult than it already is. Please vote against HB 30. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simpson. We appreciate your brevity and being within our time limit. Are there questions for our speaker? Seeing none, then thank you for taking time to join us today. Without objection, we are back in session. Are there questions for the sponsor? Question has been called. Is there any objection? I have a we have objection to calling the question. The question has been called. All right, we will be voting on calling the question. An aye vote is a vote to call the question. A no vote is a vote to continue discussion. All those in favor of calling the question, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The question has been called. We're now voting on House Bill 30. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those opposed, if you'd like to be recorded as a no, please see the clerk. The ayes have it. House Bill 30 goes on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Chair Lady and Committee.
Number 3 on our calendar is House Bill 1479, Chairman Halsey. Chairman Halsey, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
We have a motion and a second. Tell us about your bill.
A few months ago, I met with the treasurer, and we were discussing some volatile things going on in the market, and talked about maybe it was time to put ourselves in a position where the state begins to purchase gold as a hedge. And so I asked him if he would write the bill, that I would be more than happy to run it. And so he did, and this is the bill.
You heard the sponsor's explanation. Are there questions? Question has been called. Any objection to calling question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1479, moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations, Chairman Halsey.
Thank
The bill
you.
moves on to calendar and rules.
I was going to say that pigs must be flying because this has never happened to me. I thank you.
Don't expect it to happen again. Item number 4 on our calendars, House Bill 320. Chairman Hurt. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee. House Bill 320 expands the industrial machinery exemption to include machinery and materials purchased by contractors who enter into contracts with the state for wastewater treatment or sewage work on projects at the mega site. To accomplish this, the bill amends the definition of industrial machinery by adding the Department of General Services for the Mega Site Authority of West Tennessee to the list of public entity types with which a contractor may contract to complete a water pollution control or sewage system project for the purposes of obtaining the industrial machinery exemption on the machinery and materials purchased for use in that project. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll entertain any questions.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Are there questions of the sponsor?
Yes.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. It seems as if this will decrease state revenue by $724,000 FY 23-24. You have any idea how many contractors that would impact? How many contractors are we looking at?
Representative Miller, that is, I believe that decrease is because of the sales tax removal, and there is a funding letter from the administration to take care of that fiscal note. But I don't believe there's an impact to contractors. The chairman can correct me if I'm wrong.
Say that again, Madam Chair Lady, the last part.
I said Chairman Hurt can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that there is no, the contractors are not impacted by this change. This is simply a change in the sales tax collection for the Mega Site Authority.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And there is a funding letter, for those of you who are wondering about the fiscal note, there is a funding letter from the administration. Are there other questions? Question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And House Bill 320 moves on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman Hurt.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
Item number 5 on our calendar, House Bill 76, Chairman Lafferty. We have a motion and a second. You're recognized on House Bill 76.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee. This bill seeks to put an end to the consular plates in the state of Tennessee. The federal government reached out to the state and asked us to do so. The better part and the bigger part of this bill is we're going to be giving disabled plates to those that are in charge of the care of disabled relatives, minors, adults, either way. If they're disabled, currently, if you're disabled, you can get a plate for your car. But if you're a minor, your family, well, I'm not doing a good job of this today. Your caretakers can take care and receive a disabled plate for their vehicle free of charge. That's the enhancement that we're doing. Right now, that is currently available to disabled people. We're going to extend that to their caregivers. That was the way that I was supposed to say that the first time. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman Lafferty, and I think that's probably been an oversight that should have been corrected earlier because, as you say, there are parents with children who need to get these children from place to place, and there are adults who are disabled to the degree that they can't drive, but they still need to be, they still need mobility in order to get to appointments and so forth. So are there any questions for Chairman Lafferty? Question has been called. Any objection to calling the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 76. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 76 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you very much. Thank you, committee.
We're now on item 6, House Bill 129 by Representative Capley. We have a motion and a second. Representative Capley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill was brought to me by the Comptroller's Office and makes government work better by updating collateral requirements for local government funds held on deposits with federal savings banks. This would remove promissory notes as a form of collateral and will more accurately reflect current industry practices. Collateral will be more easily monitored and thus make public funds more safely safeguarded.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. I believe this is the sponsor's first bill in front of this committee. Is nobody going to take any issue with that? Or, Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's indeed an honor for all of us to be here with this young man. Could you remind us your age, sir? It's on the bill.
You're recognized.
Madam Chair and Committee, I'm 25 years old.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Representative Kipper, do you know what collateral is?
Representative Capley.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Kipper, are you old enough to have any collateral?
Representative Capley.
I believe I'm old enough to have some form of collateral, hopefully no collateral damage.
Thank you. Call the question on the bill.
Question has been called. I heard someone else call the question. Question has been called. We are voting on the bill. House Bill 129. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're going to make government work better with House Bill 129 by moving it on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
Item 7, House Bill 80 by Representative Hale. Representative Hale, you have a motion and a second. Please tell us about House Bill 80.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Committee. House Bill 80 is an administration bill that was brought to me by TDEC. This legislation removes any unnecessary and redundant administrative requirement and fees for both the regulated community and the department regulated to Class 5 underground injection controls or UIC activities. These activities have been minimal minimal environmental impact and primarily include stormwater diversion to sinkholes and sewage activities such as large drip or septic systems. Because these activities are authorized at both the state and federal level by rule, there's no permit or authorization to renew, and therefore this legislation will remove the current requirement to submit this paperwork and associated fee to the department. The decrease in state revenue is insignificant, amounting to less than $1,000 in the fiscal year. This legislation will not change any of the regulations that are protective of water quality or diminish the responsibility of the UIC owner to maintain compliance with the rule.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Are there questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 80. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 80 moves on to calendar and rules. Thank you,
Thank you.
Representative Hale. Representative Gant, you have item number 8, House Bill 319. You're recognized. You have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This legislation is brought by the administration and will fast track remediation and redevelopment of brownfield properties across rural Tennessee by providing technical and financial resources directly to local communities while bolstering incentives for developers and communities. The changes made by this legislation will create a state-administered brownfield grant program. Also, this legislation will amend the brownfield franchise and excise tax credit law to incentivize rural and smaller communities to clean up and remediate property by expanding the credit to include both purchase and remediation cost. And lastly, this legislation will amend the brownfield tax increment financing law to remove geographical barriers to use and expand eligible qualified project costs to mirror those authorized under the uniformity in the TIF law.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Have questions? Representative Gant, thank you for bringing this bill. We have a number of these across the state that are eyesores in our community and unproductive land, and this will hopefully help turn that around, and we'll have a property back on the tax rolls that is productive and looks a lot better as well. We are, without objection, voting on House Bill 319. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 319 moves on to calendar and rules. Number 9, House Bill 64 by Chairman Hawk. You have a motion and a second, Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Chair Lady. May I present from the podium?
You can. It just took me a minute to find you.
And it's a big crowd today, Chair Lady. Thank you very much, Chair Lady and members. House Bill 64 is going to extend the deadline for the Families First Community Advisory Board's final report to the Tennessee General Assembly. We've noticed in functionality of the advisory board on which I serve with other legislative members that the detail and the information that we are requiring from these pilot organizations that are up and running now is quite extensive, and the measurement tools we're using to find out and ensure that they are effective programs is just going to take us a little longer than we anticipated. Additionally, we are looking to extend from 12 months to 18 months the time that the Department of Human Services must spend the unobligated temporary assistance for needy family funds. Those are dollars that are going to go back into our communities, and we're giving them 6 months more to ensure that that money gets out in an effective way to help the most people. In a nutshell, Chair Lady and members, that's what House Bill 64 does.
Are there questions? Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Mr. Chairman, reading this, and you've already mentioned it, but before the General Assembly can receive a report on those dollars that have been appropriated to the various organizations, we're looking at December 31st of 2025.
Chairman Hawk.
That was the original language, which is December 31st of 2025. We're extending that to December 31st of 2026 in order to give a full run of the 3-year development of these pilots that have gone out, been thoroughly vetted by the TANF Advisory Council. We had, if you'll remember, Commissioner Carter before us last week, I think it was last week, discussing the Shark Tank type presentations that we had from organizations across the state of Tennessee. We started out with 80 different organizations and their business plans that they brought to us to better utilize, or their plan to better utilize the TANF funds to ensure that we're helping the right people in the best way. We narrowed that down to less than 20 organizations, and then we further narrowed that down to 7 organizations which have received funding and are in the process now. The measurements that are being made are in the effectiveness of the program to see if we're actually moving the needle to make this a temporary need for public assistance for these families. So the 3-year time frame that we've put on them, the clock has started now. Frankly, it took us a little while longer than I anticipated and the legislation anticipated to get these organizations and entities up and running. And that's why we need the extra time to get the report back to the General Assembly.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Of the 7 organizations, will they receive any more appropriations between now and December of 2026?
Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Each of the 7 pilots are going to be awarded $25 million as part of their process, part of the grant that is coming to them. It is over time and is going to be, the words are escaping me, but the funds will be paid to the organization over time as the need for repayment of funds or investment of funds from the state come. So the short answer is the $25 million is what is available to each of the 7 pilots. I don't envision it going above and beyond that. There may be some peripheral partner organizations who eventually get funded in some of the additional TANF monies that I mentioned later that would come to different communities in the yearly award. But each of the pilots is strictly left to the $25 million.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none. We are voting on House Bill 64. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, by like sign. The ayes have it. House Bill 64 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair Lady, members.
That completes our calendar for today, and we will now go out of session for our budget hearings. First up will be the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. So we'd ask you to come forward, please. And Commissioner, just introduce yourself and your teammates who are with you, and then go right into your presentation.
Thank you, Chair Lady, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to come today and present our fiscal plans to you. I have Sonia Hadley, who is our budget director. Director Greg Mays is the director of Homeland Security. Colonel Matt Perry with Tennessee Highway Patrol. Rochelle Bryant, the director of Driver's License Services, and Elizabeth Stroker, our legislative director. Permissive by the committee, I thought I would, in respect for your time, go through our proposal real quick, leaving plenty of time for you to have questions that you might have and allow us to respond and try to clarify anything that you need a clarification on. I know the plan is up on the board. Number 1 is our statutory step increases for the Highway Patrol troopers in the amount of $1,595,000. As most of you are aware, those are mandatory every year in the budget by statute if funding is available for troopers until they reach their 10 years of service. The first 10-year step plan is for those, but after the 10, they do not get that. Number 2 is the THP equipment modernization, the amount of $26,181,400. As most of you are aware, unfortunately, we had a Sergeant Aviation pilot who crashed one of our helicopters this year and lost his life during the service to the state. We need to replace that helicopter, and also we want to add another helicopter, where we will have one in each grand division of the state. It takes a while for us to respond from Nashville to get to the other ends of the state, and we would like to have one in each grand division. Real quickly, we're also looking at getting away from a single blade helicopter and getting a double engine helicopter and double blade. It has more thrust in order to get up quicker in emergency situations, also for rescue. That's what we're looking at, and 2 of those will be for that. We need to upgrade some camera equipment on some of the helicopter we have right now. We have a 70s model, what we call a Huey, that's a military issue that we do a lot of rescues with, and some of the equipment on it needs to be upgraded. And then we're trying to upgrade some equipment for our critical incidents response team, which does the investigation of fatalities across the state to try to clear the highways quicker. There's newer equipment available now that you can map that scene and get the cars off the highways and get the traveling public back traveling quicker. Number 3 is a highway patrol salary market adjustment, $39,473,800. Comparing our current salary of our troopers at $45,100 for a starting salary, we rank 8th out of the 9 adjacent states for the payment for our troopers. Also, the Highway Patrol ranks 26th across the state of Tennessee among local law enforcement base pay. We're asking to raise that base pay for troopers to $63,000 a year and be the best in the state, and also provide for the troopers for the service that they provide for our citizens of Tennessee. Number 4, trooper and staff positions. You were kind enough last year to give us 100 trooper positions, which we are dispersing across the state. We did not at that time ask for supervisory positions for the span of control of those troopers. This year, we're asking for 142 positions. One is 100 positions for troopers. The other 42 are span of control of the new 100 we got last year, plus the 100 if you grace us with that this year. Those 100 troopers will go in some of the larger metropolitan areas where our major fatalities, more fatality for deaths are occurring, and have the highest populations and most calls for service. To give you an idea about our calls for service, the calls for service in the last 5-year span has increased by 75,000 calls. Also, over the last 6-year span, Tennessee's population has increased by nearly 500,000. That means there are more automobiles on the highway, there's more miles being traveled on the highways of Tennessee, and we are lower now than the surrounding states of North Carolina, Georgia, and some of the others. Were still lower than they were on the number of troopers per population and per miles traveled, and we're trying to reach to that level. Number 5 is incentive program in Shelby County. A lot of our troopers are seasoned troopers who we really need with experience. We need to station them in Shelby County. And because of the calls for service and the danger and things in Shelby County compared to some of the other rural areas of West Tennessee, we are needing to incentivize some of those troopers that have experience to actually go in those areas. And we're asking for a $10,000 a year supplement incentive to incentivize troopers to go to the Shelby County area. The mayor of Memphis has asked us for an increase of staff in Memphis. We're now sending officers there, troopers there on a regular basis to supplement that out of the areas that they normally are working. Plus, we've increased the number we have in Memphis. We're increasing more in Memphis out of the 100 you gave us last year, but getting them to stay in that locality when they can go in one of the rural areas and live cheaper and not have as many calls for service is something we're having to combat. Number 6 is our Tennessee Advanced Communications Network statewide system maintenance, $1,275,100. This is an annual maintenance that's baked into the original contract of the communication system that appears every year for maintenance to allow us to receive software and hardware upgrades and also replacements on any call services or issues to our system. Number 7, intelligence analyst salary market adjustment. We have analysts that are assigned into the Fusion Center with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and we also have them assigned to the FBI offices across the state. We're learning that a lot of those personnel are leaving, and every one of them that has left has cited low pay as the primary reason for their resignation. The four surrounding, these multiple surrounding states and 4 in-state centers, including Georgia, Missouri, North Virginia, Metro, Nashville, Murfreesboro, Chattanooga, Mount Juliet, and ROCIC, pay more to their analysts than we do. So we're asking to increase the pay for our analysts, and I think also TBI has it in their budget request this year to increase the salary of their analysts assigned to the Fusion Center. Number 8, digital forensic technician positions. We're asking for 3 positions in our forensic laboratory part. We've had a 48% increase in the number of requests that the department has received under the Tennessee Open Records Act over the last 3 years. As you all know, we put body cameras on every trooper out on the roadways of Tennessee. With that, we're naturally going to get more open records requests for those, and that's what's happened. We've had an increase of 374% in the total number of minutes to redact electronic data over the last 3 years due to all those body cameras. So we have complete coverage. We have body cameras on the troopers. We also have cameras in the cars to cover the actions of our trooper, to make sure that we're recording their activity with the public, to both prevent any issues with the trooper and also with the public. Number 9, intelligence analyst and agents position in the amount of $1,716,300. As you heard me say a few minutes ago, we have our analysts, but we need a few more to finish out in some of the centers across the state that we only have. We're asking to get some analysts to put across the state, to put in those areas that we do not have an analyst there. And also we're asking for some agent positions. One of the things that Homeland Security Agents does is a grant program. We receive federal grants from the federal government, and we relay those grant monies on to local agencies. We have to review their applications, make sure they qualify for the grants, make sure they're using the money properly for what they use it for. At this time, we have one agent that tries to handle that program. He cannot handle it by himself, and we're asking for a couple of other positions to help do that. And also, we're picking up our cybersecurity responsibility and asking for some agents to pick up cybersecurity to make sure that the state network is well. We're also members of the state cybersecurity team, and we're trying to carry our share of that load with that team. Number 10, communications administration and infrastructure replacement. As most of you know, the Tennessee Advanced Communications Network started in 2008. There was a plan to build that out at one time, but the revenue wasn't there. So they only able at that time to fund the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Since that time, there has been a plan to try to get every agency, every first responder in the state of Tennessee, so everybody can be on a radio system to talk to each other. I've been in the business now 49 years, and it's a shame that we're in the year we're in now and still can't talk to each other on radios. After 9/11, billions of dollars were given out to local agencies to prevent this problem. However, there wasn't any standards of control or anything to make sure people were getting on the same system. People with well intentions went out and bought new radios to have coverage, but they still couldn't talk to each other. And I'm glad to tell you, we now have gotten every state agency in discussions and getting on board with TACAN to where every state agency will be on board. We've also increased 6 local agencies recently. We did a ribbon cutting in Coffee County yesterday. Every public responder in Coffee County is now on the radio system. We're working with every agency across the state right now, trying to resolve the problem, get that. And with your help on this, we'll be able to build that infrastructure out better, saving money both for the state and the local agencies. Real quick, what we're doing is we're partnering with those local agencies. If they have a shortage of coverage with a tower site and we can help fund that tower site, we will. If they have tower sites that we need better coverage for the Highway Patrol, they're allowing us to put our equipment on their tower site. So it's a win-win for both of us, the locals and the state. Number 11 is something I'm sure you've heard quite a bit of talk about. This is our Tennessee School Initiative. All or most of the studies that have been done about school safety has shown that the main thing that could be done and needs to be done is to prevent a person from going through that pathway to violence. Most of the shootings that have happened across the country, someone eventually comes forward and said they had an idea or an indication that that individual might do something wrong, or had overheard them say something, or there's something in social media that might show that. We have 18 agents currently in Homeland Security. We're getting threats on a regular basis. We're getting approximately 12 threats, I believe it is, every 2 weeks in the state of Tennessee. It's hard to cover those with 18 people across the state because some of those agents have as many as 11 counties. We're asking for 122 positions, which will be one in each county of the state, to be a coordinator more or less with the local authorities in that area, also with mental health, with the school systems of that area, with mental health, juvenile court, the district attorneys. And what has started, you passed a law about 3 years ago that was permissive to have a school safety study committee in each school district. They would look at the threats in that committee or that district and try to do something about it. A lot of counties are not having the opportunity to do that. And what we would like to do is have an agent that'll help the local partners coordinate that, make sure we're looking at that individual that has a pathway to violence, and make sure that we can sort of keep that individual under review of mental health, try to get them the mental health they need, or the any kind of a treatment or any kind of assistance they may need to prevent them from later coming in and doing a shooting in one of our schools. Also, Homeland Security has a responsibility of doing safety assessments at every school in the state. There are 4,800 schools in the state that we review school assessments that are provided to the Board of Education. 18 people can't do that. We're only doing about 30 a year. So in order to show the number that we actually need to be doing, these agents will also be doing that in an area of their responsibility. Number 12 is, again, our Tennessee Advanced Communications Network. We're asking at this time for the remaining money to build out the entire network across the state of Tennessee that was started back in 2008. With this figure, $357 million, it will build the communication system out for every first responder across the state of Tennessee. Also, we're looking at putting them in every ambulance and every hospital that we can possibly put them in. So they will have communications with local hospitals, also with trauma centers, and save the lives of our citizens of Tennessee being transported for emergency care. And then number 13 is a Tennessee-only license. If an individual can't get a license in Tennessee and they come from another state, we are responsible to give them a license. This is $63,000. I think there's some legislation right now before the legislature to maybe solve that issue, and we won't need that revenue if that passes, but we have it in the budget just in case. Madam Chair, thank you for that time, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you, Commissioner. There's a lot to digest there, and I do have questioners on my list, beginning with Representative Gant.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and let me extend my heartfelt appreciation for what y'all do. I've seen it firsthand, unfortunately, over the last few months, and I have a whole new perspective on the job that y'all do. And I mean, I did before, but I really do now, and they just can't. We obviously can't pay you enough. I can tell you that. So my heart goes out to what y'all do every day for us here across the state. Some of the questions I've got resorts to Shelby County.
Mm-hmm.
And with the market rate funding, will starting salaries for troopers be raised? And if so, what will the starting salary be after that adjustment? And how much of this funding will be put towards addressing compression issues versus adjusting starting salaries?
Go ahead. I'll let you in.
Representative Gant, sorry, Colonel Matt Perry, Tennessee Highway Patrol. Thank you for the question. So, starting salary will go up to 63,000 and change for every trooper. We're asking for an additional 10,000 per trooper and the first line supervisors in Shelby County. Specifically, Commissioner did a good job explaining it. What we're trying to get, we've added positions, vacant positions that we want to hire troopers. Now, new troopers we hire, we send them wherever we need them. Veteran troopers is not the case. We let them, after a certain amount of time, decide where they want to work. So we're going to assign new troopers to Shelby, but we also want to encourage veteran troopers because we can't let brand new troopers go and work really any metropolitan areas, any of the busier counties. There's just a lot more. We want that sort of veteran experienced leadership helping them. So that's what the incentive pay for is. We have figured on compression across all ranks and the entire pay scale. That's the entire ask covers compression as well.
Okay.
Chairman Whitson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I think you answered one of my questions. But first of all, I want to tell Commissioner Long and team, I really do appreciate you. I appreciate your service, Commissioner Long, to our county when you are a sheriff. You served with distinction, and Colonel Perry, again, I've known you a long time, and I just want to tell you, I appreciate what y'all do and the service you provide to our state, but also to my committee in transportation. I've really relied on your wise counsel and facts as we make tough decisions for the folks of Tennessee. So my question, you hit on it, where we're going to put the new troopers in the metro area. I think that's very important. But of the 100 troopers that we allocated last year, how many have actually been hired right now?
Thanks, Chairman Woodson. Again, Colonel Matt Perry. We've hired roughly half of them, 50 of the 100, and we started a cadet school Sunday. Commissioner Long and I got to go out there today and welcome them to the ranks. And we are starting. I told y'all a year ago when I asked that we were going to change the way we hire and do business. We hired one cadet school a year. We hire 4 schools now. Every quarter we start a cadet school, and it's really 2 schools in one. We hire lateral police officers, which a lot of us were, like myself included when I started, and we hire people who've never been a police officer before. So, and we run the schools, at the same time. And then we're also sprinkling in 2, 3, hopefully 4 times a year. We're hiring out-of-state troopers. There's a lot of troopers around this country in states and areas that want to come to Tennessee. Some have already come here. We had no idea as we've started this mission, and Governor Lee started it by kind of sending out a request to any and all that wanted to come to Tennessee. And so we do those. Now they're not very large. They're 5, 6, 7, 10 applicants, out-of-state troopers, but we're doing our part and feeling really good. One thing the market adjustment is going to do is we are going to hire the cream of the crop. We're going to have a lot of people. We've already got people coming now. Some of the laterals that they want to be troopers, and there's a small applicant pool we are all pulling from right now across the state, across the country, and we've got to set ourselves out above everybody else.
Chairman Whitson.
Are there other barriers than pay and salary that has kind of slowed down our ability to hire troopers? Are there standards that or such that has prevented y'all from hiring the entire allocation?
Thank you, Chairman. That's a difficult question. For somebody who's been a trooper their whole life and it's all I've wanted to do, I'm a second generation trooper. The people who take up this job want to help people and serve. Has it been challenging over the last few years? To some degree, I don't think so in Tennessee, in large part to the support of you, the legislature. Y'all have really supported us and showed that you care about us as citizens too. So, but salary is a big part of it, and there are challenges that we're all facing, but none that we can't overcome.
And one last thing, Commissioner Long, you mentioned about the helicopters. I think that's a great idea. I actually could show you a picture of me in 1978 in a Huey helicopter. They're getting kind of old. Okay. With that, ma'am, Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very reliable, Mr. Chairman. As you know, they're very reliable aircraft. And let me make one quick remark. You're talking about standards. I want all of you to be assured we are not going to lower the standards of the Tennessee Highway Patrol just to hire people. We will hire the best of the best for you to represent us across the state of Tennessee.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Just as a follow-up on that, it's a bit concerning. I know we're getting a lot of lateral movement. And I believe in your presentation, Commissioner, you said state troopers were currently, before the market salary adjustment, were paid less than a number of metro areas. So I just see us sort of cannibalizing from each other. And then, the cities are going to have to increase the pay to get people back. So what are we doing to, I guess, introduce new blood into this whole system versus just swapping people back and forth?
Well, we're doing a lot of things. One, we're starting early and young in schools, and it's part of community immersion. We want people to know what being a police officer is and who we are. We're humans and citizens of Tennessee. So we're starting there. The cannibalizing, I've heard that, and everybody's going to have to increase their pay. It's not just us. We're not trying to go out. I would say that when I started as a sheriff's deputy as well, like a lot of people, and I wanted to be a trooper. I didn't think troopers were better. I grew up in it, but I thought troopers were different, the way they carried themselves. We're always going to have that. We hire police officers from other agencies. That's always going to happen. The pay, us getting a pay increase and getting to where troopers need to be is important. It will also help other police officers, sheriff's departments, police departments get a pay as well. I say this about troopers. We send troopers from Mountain City to floods in Humphreys County. We send troopers from Memphis to wildfires in Gatlinburg. Memphis Police Department doesn't do that. Metro Nashville Police Department do that, and everyone in between. We send troopers, and they answer the call. I know y'all have seen it yourselves right here on this property and next door. But we're willing to do whatever it takes to be different, to look at ourselves differently. I think y'all have asked us to do that, and we're very much open to it, Commissioner.
Yes, and I meet frequently with the sheriffs across the state and also with the chiefs across the state and talk to them about hiring personnel and trying to work on solutions to that. And we're working on that every day to try to figure out a way for the betterment of law enforcement all across the state.
Thank you. Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Commissioner, good to see you. I'm hiding over here. There you go. Good to see you and your staff. Just a quick question. As far as the applications that you receive every year, how many do you receive? And of those, of course, this year, I guess it'll be 50 that you all are taking for this class, but then hopefully you'll get up to 100. But how many applications are you receiving? And of those applications, how many are potential new troopers and versus those that are coming out of other sheriff's departments or police departments?
Thank you, Representative. I think today's class that started that we spoke to, there were 18 lateral transfers and 16 new recruits that had never been in law enforcement that we addressed today. Colonel Perry brought to my attention the other day, I want him to clarify if I state this wrong. Back when they were hiring one time a year, they had about 500 applicants per time. Now we're having 500 every quarter that we have apply. So we're having the same number of applicants, even though we're doing it quicker. So that's good for the law enforcement in Tennessee that there are that many that are wanting to get into law enforcement.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the son of a retired state trooper, the Department of Safety is always near and dear to my heart. And I'm going to get to my questions in a second, but first I want to say I've actually been reflecting. I guess some of my earliest state service was changing all those buttons and pins on Dad's uniform, which is a process. And I can't tell you how many times I cleaned patrol car windows of Chevy Caprice, Ford Crown Vic. I'll stop there. Tennessee Advanced Communications Network, TACN. the emergency medical services, the firefighter folks, law enforcement in my region are very curious about this. And I know that 179 million non-recurring is out there for infrastructure improvements under the budget we're under today. And in this current proposal, 357 million to expand the Tennessee Advanced Communication Network. How are we with that? And are local fire and EMS agencies eligible for this in all 95 counties? What do they have to do to get in?
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, they are all eligible. Any first responder is eligible. They need to contact our office. We're reaching out also and let us know they're interested. We have a design plan team that are already designing the build outs across the state and how many tower sites we're going to need in each county, what agencies there are. I'm glad to tell you that I think it was last year or year before, you gave us new radios for the Highway Patrol. We were able to take every radio we had and refurbish that and give it to local and distressed and at-risk counties. All of those radios have gone to agencies that would have otherwise been not able to afford those radios. Not only giving them the radios, they're now on our system. So we've multiplied that group already. I was counting before I came over today just to see if the question was asked, well, what's going on in my district? Of all of you here today, over 15 of you, we're in your district right now, building out tower sites and working with locals to put radios in your counties that you represent. So it's going very well. We've had a big response from locals wanting to get onto the network. And as you can tell, I'm really excited about it. And I think we're finally going to make the accomplishment of our goal of getting everybody on a system together.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll just conclude with, I'm glad that the system exists. This is something that is needed improvement for, frankly, my entire life and likely beyond that as well. I used to complain years ago down here on the microphone that troopers couldn't reach dispatch on a portable radio.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's still, I assume that still happens in some counties. I know you can use other frequencies, so there are other channels, but this is a great thing. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Representative Campbell, just yesterday, Sheriff Parton in Coffee County stood in the middle of the administrative building on his radio and called Tennessee Highway Patrol in Cookeville and in Knoxville and got them by a portable radio.
Chairman Baum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one question about the Motorola contract. Last year's budget had, I think it's about $500,000 allocated in recurring expenses for this. And then this year's budget has an additional 1.2 million in additional recurring expenses for this. Could you tell us what this increase is due to? And I think I should probably add that we're wondering if this is due to the Tennessee Advanced Communication Network contract
Answer you want me to?
or the expansion.
Sonia Hadley, Budget Director. So the contract that we have right now, there's provisions set in it where we have to request a certain amount of money due to the increase of the system as partners come on. And of course, the capacity increases, as well as included that's in that maintenance cost. There's upgrades that occur to every system that's currently in place. And the contract right now, it runs through 28. So we're expecting not this particular amount of money next year or over the course of the contract, but some dollar amount as people come onto the system.
Representative, though, the amount you asked about, the 500-something thousand, that was for radios themselves that we bought and put in patrol cars and also for trooper handheld portable radios. That's different from the maintenance. And those are the ones that I said were replaced and also refurbished and given to distressed and at-risk counties across the state.
Okay. I think the 500,000 is recurring. Is that what you have?
She tells me it was part of the maintenance.
Okay. Okay. And do you, maybe one last question, do you anticipate this amount for the Motorola contract going up each year in the future by some or a little bit?
as we add other agencies on, yes, the band will require more and it will go up somewhat, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate all you guys are doing across the state. Love to see our folks on the highways as we come in and out, staying safe. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the $357 million that we're talking about. I remember, as you alluded to or communicated today, I remember when we spent the other amount of money last year, we were saying we're going to have a bunch of surplus radios. We're going to help our local law enforcement agencies, and we had to go through general services to be able to distribute those radios because they were of good quality still. In some cases, they were better quality than most of our rural communities or distressed counties had themselves. So for that, I'm very thankful and excited. But when we started talking about that investment last year, there was never this real communication that it was only going to be, 1/4 of what we were actually going to spend. This is the first time when F&A came and told us about this expenditure. I must admit I was really surprised. I felt like that we had spent a lot of money in this space before. We were trying to update those services, try to get everybody on the same page. So when we're talking now, and of course when they presented this before, it was just called TACN initiative, and now it's TACN 3. I guess my question is there a TACN 4 or a 6 or something else in the future, or is this it? Because this is a lot of money.
Absolutely. We know that, Representative Williams. Thank you. No, this is it. This is the original amount in 2008 of what the build out was going to be from the very beginning. So this is it. There won't be any more requests to build out the TACN network.
So sorry, Chair Lady. So how are we going to go about the expenditure of collecting old radios that we just distributed through general services and issuing new radios to local law enforcement agencies? Do they send you a shipping a list, a packing list? How does that? Tell me how the process would work going forward.
Thank you. We have given out those radios that we replaced. So about all of them are gone, if not all of them. But if any agency that is distressed, at risk, or has problems with radios, they normally contact us. The word's gotten around pretty well, and they will contact us, and we will assess their needs to see if it will help their system and help them get on to the TACN system. And then we try to cooperate with them and provide them the refurbished radios if we have any left, yes.
Well, I appreciate your answer there, but I obviously asked the question incorrectly.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll try again. So as it relates to this new money,
Okay.
this $357 million, there's a portion of those revenues, of those $357 million, that's going to be utilizing those funds to buy radios for local law enforcement.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got you.
So of that $357 million, how much do you expect will be spent in local law enforcement, and how will that process occur?
Les, you got the figures.
Of course, you'd bring up the guy from Cookeville, Tennessee.
Nice button right there.
On. Deputy Commissioner Les Delente. State Representative, how are you, sir?
Good.
Good. The question is how we're going to issue radios back out to locals with the new money from TACN 3. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, there's 76 million set aside of the 357 that is for state agencies to come fully on board with TACN. A lot of state agencies have old radios, probably older in some counties. Some of those radios will not be refurbished, but those that are relatively new, will refurbish them and do exactly what we did last year with TACN 2, where we'll refurbish them. And then the commissioner will start looking at the list of requests, and then we'll start handing them out, hopefully within the next year from today, or July 1.
How do you decide who gets them?
There is a statute that you all passed, I think it was last year or year before, that gives distressed counties first priority, and then at risk secondly, and then the third option is the commissioner at his discretion.
Okay. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. I do think that obviously this is something that's going to help improve, and particularly Les, as you and I experienced 3 years ago this week, the ability for our offices and agencies to better communicate, which I think is extremely valuable. I do think that one of the questions is who will be responsible for the reoccurring costs? Chairman Baum asked a question previously about reoccurring revenue. Who's responsible for covering the cost of keeping those radios going?
TACN is owned by the state and administered, the State Department of Safety is responsible for the maintenance of that.
Okay.
As we build infrastructure, there will be reoccurring maintenance that the state will take on. As we add users, that does not add additional cost. Users do not, structures do.
One final question, and then I'm jumping from that topic. Thank you. There's $12 million, I think, in the budget for communications investment with two positions. Just wondered if you could tell me a little bit more about what that.
Yes, sir. So there are 7 towers, current towers that we have that are going to be replaced out of that 12 million.
Okay.
And then there's 2 positions that we're asking for to help with the growth of TACN administratively.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Representative Williams, also, we're looking at, with our local partners, if we have a tower site that is owned by the state of Tennessee and we could lease some of that tower site to a private agency to help fund all of this, that's something we're looking at.
And I want to go back because I obviously missed something, but the $357 million that is there for the TACN 3 initiative, you said $76 million was for other state agencies that have out-of-date equipment. So the 281 is, help me understand again what we're spending that for?
So there's 3 sums. There's the 24 million that's set aside for regional build outs to directly help locals with infrastructure or radios. There's 76 million set aside for state agencies to come on board fully. Then you have to do the math for me. What's left? I think it's 250-ish. We'll finish building out the infrastructure for TACN 3, which is towers and generators and stuff like that.
So the primary, I mean, nearly all of this $357 million is for infrastructure, towers, generators, connectivity.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Chairman Keesling.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, this subject is related to the open roads, Operation Open Roads. Last year, funding was provided to expand the commercial driver CDL testing across the state. In December of last year, the comptroller, who, by the way, has just walked into our committee, the comptroller issued a performance audit for the department, for your department, which had one finding, and congratulations, one finding. You did a well job. This could be relative to Elizabeth Stroker here. She may have to step up. Management should, and the finding reads, management should strengthen the department's license issuance quality control process to ensure examiners properly use commercial driver's license. So the question is this: can your department provide details on the implementation of their part in Operation Roads, and how do y'all plan to address the finding, Elizabeth?
Could I answer the finding part first?
You may do that. Of course you may.
We have taken care of that finding. What that finding was is that we had some personnel that was not checking some of the licenses that had been issued to verify some of it. Okay. What really came down was it was for part-time examiners, because their performance plan they don't have a performance plan. The supervisor didn't know they were supposed to be checking for that part-time employee. So we have rectified that by policy, by training, and also by audit after that. So that has been rectified, and I'll let Elizabeth answer.
Elizabeth Stroker, Legislative Director for the Department of Safety. And Chairman Kiesling, I believe you're on the House Transportation Committee as well. We did a pretty robust hour-long update on roads, and happy to share that here. Basically, we recognized that we had a flaw in our system when it came to getting CDL drivers in and tested at an effective rate of time. It was taking months to get people scheduled. And so with this body support, we had enough money to hire 10 additional positions. We have had 2 trainers trained. We've been able to get all of our own staff trained as CDL examiners. We've created an incentive program so that our own staff are incentivized to become CDL trainers, so that if we have someone who's out sick, who's one of those CDL examiners, we're not going to have to reschedule or cancel people so that they can step in and do that. We've also started a partnership with TCAT, and we've got 2 commercial vehicles that I think are about ready, if not ready, that we have started to use, and they're going to be used monthly to do classes for new third-party examiners, retraining current third-party examiners, so we can really ramp up our third-party examiners, because we know we're capped at what we can do on the state level. So the key is going to be getting those third-party examiners increased. And so that's what we're focusing on now. I think we have 11 classes total this year for those third-party testers and retraining of those third parties. And we're hoping within the next year, if everyone will be patient, we can really see that bottleneck kind of go down and see that wait time for a CDL test decrease.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. That concludes my questioning, Madam Chair.
Chairman, Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Chair Lady, and thank you, Commissioner, for being with us. Want to talk to you a little bit about the upcoming budget. So it kind of looks like maybe it envisions some new roles for your Homeland Security agents. The upcoming budget has $29.7 million in it. So it aims to establish 122 Homeland Security agents who will specialize in school safety and threat assessment initiatives. And I know there's some funding that will create a records management system as well. So let me ask you a broad question first, and then I'm going to go into some specific follow-ups, if that's okay. So first, what are these 122 Homeland Security agents? What are they going to do? Like, what do you envision their responsibility being?
Thank you, Representative. We're going to plan to put 1 agent in each county. The reason for that is that I don't know that I can look at a parent in a county and tell them that their child is just not as that we're not responsible to provide for safety for their child as we are another county. So the theory is we would put 1 in each county of the state. They would be ingrained in that county, know the locals, be able to work partners with them. The other positions will be supervisor positions for span of control and some staff to help support those in each of the counties. As I said earlier, we're responsible for reviewing the physical assessments of every school. They'll be reviewing those physical assessments. They'll be also doing the coordination of the safety teams in those areas and working threat cases that might come up where they have a threat at a school. And then if you'll remind me the other part of your question.
Sure. So you've kind of talked about, how as far as how they're stationed, though, I mean, are there offices or infrastructure already in place? Where will they, on a day-to-day basis, where will they be?
We will allow them to AWS from their residence. It's cheaper on the state to do that. They have computers and everything that they can check in. They'll have supervisors in the area supervising them, but we're not asking to rent any kind of office space or anything for them. Hopefully, they'll be ingrained with our local partners, and if they need a meeting place, I'm sure education will give them one, the local sheriff will give them one, education or somebody will.
Madam Chair, just a couple others.
Certainly. Go ahead, Leader.
Thank you. And so let me ask you this: as far as so just K-12, right? Not higher ed. We're talking about K-12. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then looking at the records management system that this funding will help establish. So how much of the $29.7 million we discussed earlier, how much of that is allocated to the records management system? And then what function will it serve? And then I guess the recurring cost for that record management system.
The management system, the best estimate we have on it so far is $500,000. Currently, Homeland Security does not have a record system at all. to put records in. They're doing it more or less on spreadsheets. This will be a law enforcement records management system that they could use, other agencies and within the Department of Safety could use also. And it'll keep up with all the records of the grants, the distribution of the grants, the safety initiatives at the school, assessments and all of that. It all will be kept in that database together. What? 5 million. I'm sorry, 5 million. I said 500,000, she said. I'm sorry.
No, that's an important
A lot
correction. Thank
different,
you.
but I'm sorry.
And will that be recurring or that's a one-time?
One-time expense.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Garrett. Oh, he stepped out on me. Oh, there he is. All right. Thank you. You moved. Did you not move? All right. I don't have any other questioners on my list. I would on the issue, and we've spoken in my office about this with the Homeland Security personnel and I think the original plan as discussed was one per county. And I do hope that you all I understand that maybe you're taking another look at that just because of the demographics, and you could have a county with 3 schools and a county with 100 schools, and it doesn't seem that the distribution should be the same in those situations. So again, we look forward to kind of hearing more about how that plan will ultimately play out.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, that is exactly right. We realize that agent in every county wouldn't be busy all the time because of the number of schools, but they could certainly help on larger counties with the larger schools, and we can regionalize them or however we need to do to make that more effective. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I add my thanks to those that have been issued earlier by other members. We do appreciate the work that you all do to keep Tennesseans safe, and particularly to the Highway Patrol who take care of us up here sometimes in some situations that I wouldn't feel very safe if you were here. So we do appreciate you a lot.
Thank you.
And we are now going to ask Director Roush with the TVI. Is he here? Here's here. All right. That's right. That's right. I can count on him.
All you gotta do is just one time.
Good afternoon, Director. Thank you for being here. And I know that perhaps you had to wait a little longer. We had more business to attend to in the beginning of our session than took a little longer than maybe we anticipated, but we look forward to your presentation.
How about now? There we go. All right. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I appreciate it. For the record, I am David Roush. I have the honor of serving as the Director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. And here with me today is our Deputy Director, Brad Nealon, to my right. To his right is our Assistant Director over our Forensics Division, Mike Little. To my left is our Fiscal Services Director, Brian Senecal. And then to his left, or to his, left, my directions here, is our Assistant Director of our Technology and Innovation Division, Rich Littlehell. So I will go straight to the slides.
I don't know if we're supposed to forward those or I'll do it. There we go. We will. All right. So our request this year includes the following major areas: forensic services positions, 4,528,100. These are the positions that we actually that this body had approved for us to go ahead and overlap because of the challenges that we faced as a result of the incident in Memphis dealing with Eliza Fletcher. So we were authorized back in September to go ahead and overlap these positions, use our equity to pay for the positions, and to move forward in hiring so that we could hopefully fast charge some of the process of getting them on board and trained. And so that this is the 25 positions that we have requested. This would authorize the positions and the funding for those positions. Next on the list is salary market adjustment. That request is 23,387,200. 160 or 1,673 of that is federal. 21,387,200 is state. Next is operational support positions for 584,600. Those are administrative positions within the Bureau. And then last on the list is equipment and supplies, which are non-recurring costs, a request of 4,620,000. Our forensic service positions, as I had mentioned, 25 position matches the 25 positions from the previous budget. So 2 years ago, we presented to the governor in order for us to get us where we need to be in our forensic services processing of evidence. We had asked for 50 positions. That 40 of those are scientists, 10 of those are techs or administrative support. So we are asking for those positions to be funded and created in this budget, 20 special agents, as well as 4 forensic techs and an administrative assistants. These positions will provide us the remaining personnel that we had asked for, so brings us up to the number, the complement that we had originally asked. In order for us to move to an 8 to 12 week turnaround time on all evidence, I know there's been a lot of attention on the sexual assault kit processing, but this is a focus on all evidence so that we're able to process all evidence that comes into the lab within an 8 to 12 week time frame. That's the goal. That's what we believe will happen as we have these positions in place and the individuals trained to do the work. We, of course, have a significant hiring and training time that takes place, anywhere basically from 6 months to 2 years to train a scientist, depending on the area that they are trained in. And so obviously on the lower end would be folks, the 6-month training would be folks dealing with analysis of things like drugs or blood, up to the 2 years, which is what it takes to train a firearms tech or firearms scientist to do those investigations. And so the sexual assault, which is the one that gets a lot of attention, DNA, forensic biology, that's about an 18-month training for those positions. We have scientists that are being added to multiple disciplines in all 3 labs, our Jackson, Nashville, and Knoxville labs, with forensic biology receiving the vast majority of these positions, and Jackson receiving the largest percentage of increase in those positions. Next on the list is our salary modernization. So part of the issue that we were facing as well is being able to attract talent and keep talent. The challenge we've been having in forensic science is being able to attract those talented scientists to come in and work for us and to keep them with us when we get them. And so, as well as our investigators. And so, as a piece and parcel to the positions is the need to increase our pay to be competitive. We did a salary survey in-house to show the issue, the challenge that we are having in this space. So when we did that, we looked at local agencies and the starting pay of investigators in local police departments throughout the state of Tennessee. When we did that, we found that we fell 44 out of 46 in our starting pay for our investigators. This request will put us at 10th on the list. So it'll move us up significantly. and make us more competitive. We looked at our sister states that do the same job that we do. Out of 10 states, we found that we were in last place in our starting pay for investigations. This will put us at number 2 in competitiveness against our sister states in this effort to attract investigators. Next, we looked at our police officers within the Bureau. We have uniformed police officers that work for us as well. We looked at their pay. When we looked at the list of starting pay for law enforcement in Tennessee, out of 46 agencies, we were dead last in our pay, not competitive at all. The modernization request we have forward will put us at 4th, being able to be competitive in hiring police officers for TBI. The next group we looked at is our intelligence analysts. Intelligence analysts have become one of the more key positions in our effort to address crime. And so we looked at the starting pay in that area, again, comparatively with states throughout the nation. With 29 states, we were in last place in our pay, not competitive at all. There was a improvement done by the state for our non-commissioned positions, which this was included in that. It moved them up to 21st. And so this request will move them actually up to 9th in order for us to be competitive against other states. So those are the slides, and I'll also mention our one-time costs that we have requested. This is equipment modernization that we have requested, and so one is refitting of our old crime scene trucks. So we have funding to purchase new crime scene trucks, and what we're doing is we're going to refit the old trucks in order to use them on crime scenes for things like interview space or for technology, for digital efforts as we're on the crime scene itself. So it'll give us a little more flexibility on a crime scene with these trucks being refitted for those purposes. Also, a network hardware and switch replacement is necessary for us to be able to continue to robustly work the systems that we have at the Bureau. As you all know, we're not part of the STS system. They're a partner for us, but we don't work directly with STS because of the uniqueness of the information that we house and the challenge of keeping that separate from other information in the state. And so we have this need for the hardware and switch replacement. We also include in this ballistic helmets and communication kits for our drug investigative division, those teams that are out doing very sensitive drug investigations, and when they go to serve warrants, the need for safety equipment. Night vision equipment is included as well for surveillance efforts that our team is involved in. Crime scene mapping technology for our criminal investigators. When they're on the scene, we need technology to be able to map those crime scenes in a more efficient and effective manner. RFID technology for our lab. This is to be able to mark all evidence, so we're able to better control and know where our evidence is at all times. One-time digitization cost for old case files is in this as well, so that we'll be able to digitize our case files to get rid of paper, to save some space that is needed. And then the last request in the one time is marked vehicles for our police officers. We have a limited number of those vehicles, and this would allow us to be able to purchase the vehicles we need for our team. And so that is the presentation, Madam Chairwoman, and I'll yield for questions.
Thank you, Director. Again, as we mentioned to the law enforcement folks who are in front of you, we do really appreciate the work that you all do every day to keep Tennesseans safe. And I think sometimes the most important work you do is the work we don't hear about, but it's the things that you prevent. And so we are grateful for that work. And I know there are a lot of challenges associated with what you do, and sometimes a lot of, as we say, negative outcomes because of unfortunate situations. But we appreciate the fact that your organization has recognized those challenges and is putting forth the plan to deal with them. With that, I have a number of questioners, beginning with Representative Sparks.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, I had two questions. One is, during the governor's budget hearings in November, the Bureau requested 27.5 in state funding for salary modernization. Is the 21.3 million provided in the fiscal year 23-24 budget sufficient? And also, will the difference in what was requested versus what was provided impact your agency?
Thank you, Representative. So what we were able to do is, so as I mentioned to the governor in our request, that was really a placeholder. The number that we had put out, it was based off of where we were at that moment in time. Modernization happened on our non-commissioned side of the house in November as a result of the pay modernization for the state. That impacted our non-commissioned employees. And so we were able to reduce our costs and our requests based on that effort that had already happened. So that's why the number is lower. And so we came forward with this is the number that will get us to where we are asking to be. And so the number that we have in here is the right number to get us to the point that we are our goal of where we would like to be.
I've got another question. I don't want to take up too much time. Does the Bureau have a plan for how these adjustments will be allocated? How much will go towards raising starting salaries versus addressing compression?
Absolutely. As in the slide, so what you'll see is we will be raising the base salary for agents from 45,324 to 66,096. So a significant increase in our base salaries for our agent and scientists is a big piece of that. There is a large portion of it, about 10 million or so, for compression, which is a serious issue within the Bureau. And so we will absolutely fix compression. So it does three things. One, raises the base pay. Two, fixes compression. And three, provides us the opportunity for career development. And so all three of those goals are met with the request that's before you.
Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Director, and your team. Thank you so much. You do some tremendous work. So I appreciate you. I'll give a shout out to my buddy Chucky if he's watching as well. He does a tremendous job from way back. Let's talk a little bit about the positions, and you addressed that some. And forgive me if I've glossed over and I missed some of this. But in our current budget document, we funded 53 additional positions. Where are we now in that hiring? And I want to talk about just a more broad overview on the forensic service positions that we're looking to hire as well. So a little bit in current budget, a little bit in future budget, if you could give us a broader perspective on those two issues, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chairman. So in our current, the current positions on the current budget, we were able to, actually we have 27 that started the academy yesterday. So our new agent hire. And so that takes a lot of those positions were for that. We ran into an issue, obviously, with pay. And so literally up to 12 hours before the class, we were supposed to have 28. One dropped out because of the pay issue. And so it is continues to be a challenge. We had a number of individuals that were on the hook we thought that we were going to get, and they all dropped because of the pay issue. And so it became a major issue in this hire. And so those are challenges that we are at. On the forensic side of the house, we have been hiring those positions. We've got 38 of those positions in place out of the 50 positions. And so we have 6 more coming on board in this next month. And the others, again, it's a financial challenge right now. And so that's why this piece, the modernization piece, is so critical.
Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to go down the road a bit, we did with Department of Safety and we have with other local law enforcement as well. what are we doing to get that next generation? Anytime I get to brag about my daughters, I do it. I've got a sixth grader who went to Walter State Community College, a little, it's not upward bound, but it's kind of she's a pretty good student. So she got accepted 2 Saturdays. She did a crime scene investigation study as a sixth grader and just had a blast. And I say that to give you an opening. How are we training the next generation of agents, and what are we doing to spark that interest in them? And I know a lot of it's about pay. We've talked a lot about that. That's why we're the finance committee. But tell me, how do we spark that in kids to get them out there, high school kids, young adults? How do we get them the spark lit in them? Thank you.
Chairman, so I'm encouraged. We'll be seeking your daughter soon. But it's those types of things, right? So what we have going on, our forensics side especially, works very closely with high schools and middle schools. They go out and we're doing job fairs. We have them coming in. Actually, we do a day with high school students from throughout the state at TBI, where they come in and we take them through all of the forensic sciences and expose them to that nature of work and there's a lot of interest in that program. We actually have to refuse some of the numbers that they're sending at us because we just can't handle the volume. But it's a large number. We actually do that, I think, twice a year now. We were doing it once, and now we do it twice a year with that. We're going out visiting schools. I've been personally to elementary schools to talk to young people about careers in law enforcement, and the honor of being able to do so and to be in this profession, and how it is one of those professions that you have such great feedback and great feeling for being able to accomplish amazing things. As I tell them, it's the closest thing you can get to a superhero, is being in law enforcement. And so I try to fire the young ones up with that conversation, and it usually glimmers in their eye when they hear that. And it is it's those efforts and things. What I'm hearing, things like what you just shared about your daughter, I hear that from parents about how they have children that have an interest. And it makes me feel good because we're always wondering what the impact of the negative has had on this profession, and it does my heart good to know that there's still folks out there looking at this profession as what it is, a very honorable profession, and the desire to get in. And we're always looking for great talent at the Bureau, and so we try to do the best we can with engaging young minds, but also going after those in the profession that are the best of the best. And again, to go back to this modernization request, this will give us that opportunity. We've seen a challenge. It used to be that folks would take a pay cut to come work for the Bureau. Well, not anymore. Folks aren't willing to take that pay cut. They got to take care of their family, and we get that. And so we don't need to be asking them to take a pay cut anymore. We need to be able to provide them the right amount of money so that they can take care of their families and serve this state in these honorable positions.
Chairman Whitson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and Director. Good seeing you. And I'm proud to say that you and I share the "of the troops, for the troops" motto. And
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your service in that regard.
Yes, sir.
We've asked a lot of questions about positions. And one thing is that y'all had requested 14 support personnel, but in the governor's budget, it was only listed at 6 rather than 14 support personnel. How will the Bureau be impacted without these requested positions, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So there were we had a total of 71 positions that we had asked for, and so 25 of those are the forensic positions that we got. 6 of the administrative positions we got out of those 14. What we have been seeing in the Bureau, and you all have been amazingly supportive, and we're very appreciative. For the past almost 5 years now, that I have served in this position, this body has been very generous in taking care of the needs of the Bureau. and providing us the resources that we have continuously come before you asking for. And that's been, a lot of that has been personnel. And as you can see in the personnel ads that we have been getting, well, that's caused some growth challenges. And those growth challenges are in the administrative side of the house, right? So where we have grown in our agent size, we now need administrative personnel to be able to control and manage those agents, right? Things like HR, things like fiscal, warehouse management. I mean, all of those things that you don't think about. The behind the scenes folks who really make the operation work, those administrative assistants. Those are positions that are critical for us. In addition to those, you mentioned the 14 administrative. There are also positions that are critical for us in other spaces of those other 40 positions that we didn't get this time. And I want to share those just so you know that we'll be back asking for them because there's still needs. And that are things like digital evidence technicians, right? We have, we talk about our forensic evidence, right? We talk about those things in the forensic side of the house. Well, just as critical is the digital evidence side of the house. We could have the same challenge that we saw in Memphis on the Eliza Fletcher case in digital evidence, where we have large backlogs because of a lack of number of personnel to be able to process that digital evidence. And so that same challenge can exist right now that we won't find out until some major case happens. And so that's another really critical need. We also have a serious need in our on our IT side and our technology side. So as more users have come on board, we have a very small staff, and I mentioned that we don't have STS to support us, and so we have our own IT staff, and so we need more to help us there as well. With the larger number of people, we need more of our IT staff to be able to care for those technology needs of our agents that we have brought on.
Madam
Chairman
Chair.
Whitson.
Okay, thank you. Director, one more question. Please provide information regarding the case file system request. What will happen with this system without additional funding for replacement, sir?
So as we presented to the governor on the case file system, we're working in an analog system right now, right? And we're in a digital age. This system is the early 90s. I used some props during the governor's presentation to kind of give an example. And we had a bubble light that was the emergency equipment when we started this case file system. It had a flip phone that was about the size of bricks, right? That was the high technology back then. We showed the technology of a floppy disk is what it was based off of when we started that system. That's still the system we work on today. It's an antiquated system. It's a challenge. So what we have presented and what we will come back again with is a request for a case file system that is robust, a system that actually is capable of doing what we need done. The $630,000 for the system what we're asking for is a software as a service system where it's a recurring cost. We're not asking for a one-time $5 million because what we realize is if we ask one-time $5 million in 3 years, frankly, it will be outdated. That system won't work. And so we'd be back asking for improvements, money to improve that system. And so our request is to have this service, this software as a service, so that we can continuously upgrade and update the system and never have to come back for a large dollar amount and be able to operate on a system that is updated, current, and capable of handling the changes that come as we have seen with the digital age we're in.
Okay. Again, Director, thank you and your team for what y'all do for the people of Tennessee. It's much appreciated and recognized. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Director, for coming. Wanted to talk a little bit about APHIS. 21, 22, I think it was $4 million we spent on the program. 22, 23, I think we spent $1.4 million. Some of that was grant money to locals. I think a little bit of that was maybe some COVID money. I think $500,000 of that. Just a quick update. Could you share with us kind of where we are, how that's going? Did we use all the money that we appropriated? Is there any left? And and what an update to that might be. And you can also tell the freshman members of this committee when they can show up and give their fingerprints.
Yeah. Well, that can happen at any time.
Okay.
So thank you, Representative. So the APHIS system is moving forward, the program. We still have $4 million in the reserve to use for that, a match that is necessary for us to continue and to complete the APHIS build out in the program that we're working through. It is moving forward. Things are going well, and I guess you have any update for us, Rich, that you can provide other than what I've given?
Just the planned go-live date, Rich Littlehale, Assistant Director for Technology and Innovation. We are supporting the deployment of the new system for our partners in the CGIS division. The anticipated go-live date is in April, so we're close.
Thank you. Leader Lamberth had to go run a bill in another committee, but he wanted me to ask you about staffing as it relates to expungement. If you give us an update so I can at least get an attaboy from doing something that he asked me to do, if you could share that, that would be great.
Thank you, Chairman. So,
Yeah.
yes, so our expungement staffing is adequate at this point. Now, I can tell you there's, I know there are some bills that are out there that may put more on this unit, and I know that we have opined that we would need some more staffing in order to meet the requests and demands that the new legislation would bring. And so there is a need if legislation is moved forward in order to address the staffing issue in our expungements.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do you have any other questions? Director, this is the good news about going late in the afternoon when everyone is tired and brain dead. You don't get a lot of probing questions, so we appreciate your time. And again, apologize for making you wait a bit for us to get started.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thanks to the committee.
So members, without objection, we are back in session, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, and just a reminder, budget hearings will resume in the morning, 8 o'clock, right here. Just one more week, folks.